The National Climate Change Office is holding a two-day workshop to discuss Belize's intended nationally determined contribution (INDC) that will be presented at the upcoming COP21 Paris conference. Ann Gordon, National Coordinator of the Climate Change Office in Belize, says that Belize wants to signify to the world their commitment to the INDC. She explained what sectors in Belize they are focusing on to help reduce pollution of the atmosphere.
And so presently, Belize is having this workshop so that we can validate the information, the technical information that the consultants have come up with in the energy, transport, and forest sectors. The intended nationally determined contributions are important for COP21. Countries have put forward their national actions that they want to undertake post-2020, and this will be agreed upon in Paris. And so for us, Belize wants to signify to the world our commitment to the UNFCCC process by undertaking our INDC. And so this workshop is where we come together to validate the information that the consultants have prepared to design our INDC. And so, based on previous consultations, we know that we have that the land use change and forestry sector is very important for us. That is the sector where most of our greenhouse gas emission comes from, as well as the transport sector. And so we are looking at those three sectors to see what mitigation potential that we have in those sectors and what options can we and actions that we can undertake to reduce our emissions in those sectors.
Gordon spoke on some of the initiatives that they have developed to achieve their goal of making the sectors as pollution-free as possible.
What the consultants have presented to us was, with respect to the forest sector, is to have more efficient cook stoves. One of the things that they found out was that the cook stoves that the rural residents are using, what it leads to deforestation, as well as the pollution of the atmosphere. So what they are saying is that one of the interventions that we can use to reduce the emissions is to have more efficient cook stove.
The Conference of Parties, or COP, is a conference held every year to set out a framework for action aimed at establishing atmospheric concentrations of greenhouse gases, GHGs, to avoid dangerous human activity interference with the climate system. This year's COP21 conference will aim to achieve a legally binding and universal agreement with the aim of keeping global warming below 2 degrees Celsius. Carlos Fuller, International and Regional Liaison Officer at the Caribbean Community Climate Change Center, spoke about what they expect to happen at COP21 this year.
At COP21, that is where we are hoping to finalize a new legally binding agreement on climate change, on how the international community is going to tackle climate change by both reducing emissions of greenhouse gases and getting ready to adapt to the impacts of climate change. This workshop that the Belize National Climate Change Office is hosting today has to do with Belize's contribution to that new agreement. That is, what is Belize going to do to reduce its emissions and show the world if Belize can do this amount, the rest of the world can do so much more, and indeed it's a global effort to address the issues of climate change.
Fuller also spoke about some of the initiatives that they have already taken on to reduce some of the emissions that contribute to air pollution.
Some of the measures we have undertaken in Belize, for example, doing vulnerability assessments of our agriculture and water sectors, tourism sector, and because of that we have then put in response measures. We assisted the government in putting in a water policy in place and created a National Integrated Water Resource Authority to address the issues of water. We are doing the same thing right now with agriculture. How will climate change affect agriculture and tourism? So we are working in adaptation in those areas. In the area of mitigation, we have this year alone provided key corker reverse osmosis system with solar panels to be able to produce power from the sun for the water plant in Key Corker. We are now working with the residents of Crooked Tree to see how we can harness the cohoo nut as a source of energy also. So we are certainly working in Belize in some practical areas to address it.
COP21 is expected to be one of the largest international conferences ever held in France.